And a very pleasant good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of JMU Sound Off. Only 1 week to go until your JMU Dukes are performing in the college football playoff in Eugene, Oregon. We're going to get to everything leading up to next Saturday's game against the Ducks and break down everything you need to know about this matchup. Really excited to have Ryan Winter on from Sports Chat 503 to the conversation. But before we get to that, we're going to have a conversation with President Jim Schmidt about what a magical season it has been for JMU. So you're going to want to stay tuned to all we have tonight. Should be a great show. But first, we want to get to our sponsors, Skyline Financial Partners. Remember that you can empower your family for lasting financial success at SkylineFinancialPartners.com. Champions Drive Bourbon. Remember, at every bottle of Champions Drive that is sold, supports student athletes and JMU's pursuit of championships. You can find a bottle near you at an ABC store at abc.virginia.gov. Where's Woody? Remember that you can get 25% off your entire order at where'swoody.com by using Sound Off 25 for 48 hours after every Sound Off broadcast. Purple Nation, now with stores in Northern Virginia, the west end of Richmond, Midlothian, as well as at the coast. Shoker and Associates, the Dead Meat Society. You can join the movement for grilling enthusiasts at deadmeatsociety.com. Outdoor Kitchen Creations, check out our Instagram page this week. We stopped by Outdoor Kitchen Creations and showed you a little bit about how they can take your outdoor kitchen to the next level. If you want to learn more, you can at backyardtrends.com. And finally, our friends from Valley Road Vineyards, stop by when next time you're on I-64 between Harrisonburg and Richmond. Tell them you say hello, that you heard about the winery from JMU Sound Off, and you'll get 50% off your wine flight. And remember them for all your events, valleyroadwines.com. And with that, we are going to get right now into our conversation with President Jim Schmidt. It's been a magical season for his first year at JMU, and that's why we want to have him on tonight. So President Schmidt, thank you for taking some time out of your schedule. I'm going to start with, first of all, congratulations. I know it's been probably a dream season for you in many ways. I know you're no stranger to championships in your past work as a university president, but we'll start just from what has this been like for you in your first season of JMU football to have it go just like this. It's pretty special for all of us.
It's been a fantastic welcome to the Commonwealth. Both my wife and I are just loving the game day environment and everything, all the friends and supporters around football. My last team struggled in football. We had national championships in a lot of different teams, but not in football, and football is special.
So President Schmidt, you said something during the announcement to Coach Napier that I thought was perfect for what has been going on in the online conversation this week when you said, keep underestimating JMU. And it kind of went viral in the JMU space because I think it was the perfect message for a fan base who was just looking for somebody to rally around them. What led to you saying that? And did you get the response that at least we saw online was people really loved that you took that kind of mantle and ran with it?
Well, it is just too easy a thing to do. As you watch all the news and the commentators, it's hilarious. No one's talking about any of the real top teams, in the CFP. Everyone's talking about JMU and all the teams that didn't get in because of us. They're saying we're going to get clobbered. Who do we think we are? Aren't we cute as one of the, the better G5 schools? But, we don't belong playing with the big boys. And let me tell you, I love it. Just keep talking about JMU. Every person who watches college football has now heard about JMU over and over and over again. They're looking us up. They're checking us out. And I love being the underdog. I've been an underdog in a lot of my college career in terms of both the colleges, but the college of sports that they're in. And, it's a line Al Pacino used in some movies, says, never let him see you coming. You're just kind of right behind him. He's an attorney in this thing and this movie, and it's phenomenal. And you know what? I know we got an uphill climb, but having traveled with this team to every away game except the Marshall game, traveled with the team, been in there for the player meals, heard the coach, how he approaches this, these young men are focused. They're going to do their job. And as I've warned some folks who are discounting us, Coach Chesney is brilliant at halftime. No matter what's happened in the first half, He does the fine tuning, and out comes a different team in the second half. So my feeling is if we can stay even with Oregon, maybe get off in front of them like we did at Louisville. They didn't see us coming. This could be an upset, and everyone likes an underdog, particularly when we've been so fiercely discounted.
Well, you mentioned that everyone's talking about JMU, and this is something that I know Kevin Warner with the athletics communication staff does a really great job after these kind of big major events in JMU's history. He puts out a graphic that shows the impressions we have in media. We have obviously a tremendous amount of that when we had our college game day appearances, when we had our run to the Women's College World Series and the NCAA tournament. I have to imagine the graphics that he's going to put out in a couple of days or weeks around what has happened with this are going to surpass that even in many ways more than we ever thought was possible. I did want to ask you
I've
from
seen the
your
graph. I've seen the graph.
oh, you
It's
have.
double. It's double from
Wow.
what we saw for game day. It's double, and it shows the length of the time they're on our website is phenomenally long. I
Well, I
mean,
was going to
our
ask you. So
marketing people are just losing their mind over
yeah,
this.
when you have an event like this, and I'm sure it's other university presidents probably reaching out to you, past faculty, colleagues
Yes.
from across the country. But what is the potential for the impact that can have on the academic side of the university in terms of fundraising and things that can happen when you now have this new surge of interest in a school that we're also passionate about, but now a lot of new people are tuning in to see what makes this place so special.
Well, and I have to tell you, at a time when the country's divided on a lot of different things, nothing pulls communities together like athletics. I saw that in my secret shopper trip when I was out and about talking to students. It was just almost a year ago because it was in January and there was snow on the ground. It was kind of chilly as well. I heard over and over how important game day environment was, how it brought students to wanting to talk about it. It also attracts faculty. I've been doing this work for almost 40 years, and let me tell you, our top-notch faculty, many of them are also interested in that school spirit and are fans of athletics as well. But what it does is all these prospective students from around the country are seeing the video of our fans. They're seeing the fun that they're having. They're seeing a packed stadium. They're seeing the streamers. We have a very memorable first impression for people who are just taking a look at it. And there's been really good documented research in terms of what happens when schools get hot in athletics. And for those folks probably not watching this, but those who maybe are going to watch clips of this later, I'll challenge you. Go out and take a look at who are the top schools in the country. Take the Ivy League out of it just for a moment because that's just kind of a class of their own. Take a look at the top public universities and the other non-Ivy private schools. They are excellent in academics and they're excellent in athletics. I remember Dr. Oh shoot, now I just lost the name. Donna Shalala, when she was made chancellor at Madison, and UW Madison is now referred to the other Madison. Their athletics were not in good shape, and she came in and said, "Look, we can't be a world-class academic institution without also being a world-class athletic institution. They go together. The success breeds success, and they're synergistic. The institution rises, and we've seen that happen in the last 10 or 15 years at JMU."
I want to also ask you because one of the best things about what has happened since the announcement on ESPN that we were going to make the college football playoffs has been kind of the surge of pride from not just places like you'd expect to see it, but from at least in my small JMU world, in even my neighborhood. You're seeing new flags go up on flagpoles. You're seeing a couple of fresh bumper stickers go on the cars. I've seen more JMU shirts in grocery stores in the mall the last couple of days. I was at my daughter's Nutcracker performance this afternoon, and somebody came up to me and said, "You're going," and I think that to me just encapsulates just this the passion that our existing fan base has had, that your season ticket holders and stuff, but now new people are coming into the fold. Have you felt that type of energy? I know you've probably seen the images on platforms like Instagram and Facebook, but it's been quite special just to see how so many new people now are saying, you know what, I am going to take that JMU sweatshirt out of the closet maybe for the first
Yeah.
time, and that's great to see.
Well, I think it is tapping into the alumni base, and I think they're certainly understanding it. But I'm sure if you ask other Dukes whose best friends went to other colleges, we're now hearing from them. I went to college quite a while ago. I'm hearing from college friends I haven't heard from in decades who have found me at JMU and are sending me congratulations notes, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, or through text messages. People are talking about JMU, and what makes them do that, when they do that, they look a little deeper. I will tell our JMU base, buckle your seatbelts. Are it's challenging for a president. I can't promise that we're going to be, back where we are again next year, but I will tell you, the brightest days are ahead of us. And I'm going to be counting on all of us to pull together to figure out new and innovative ways to do this. We won't do it in a traditional way. We are going to need traditional funds, but we're going to be creative as how we rethink this path forward. And again, I don't think they're going to see us coming.
President, I also want to ask you because it's been a term that's been mentioned in a number of different spaces, but I think it's important since this is an athletics podcast to give you an opportunity to speak to what it's been like from your perspective. But the word alignment, that alignment that's been in place with you and our athletic director, Matt Roan, with Coach Jesse, but now with a coach that you are now bringing into the fold for the future of JMU football, and Coach Napier. Can you speak to why that's so critical to have that connective tissue between you in terms of your vision and your goals, but to have just a connection that's allowing you to drive this university again from an aligned set of principles for the future? It's got to be important for where we're trying to go.
It's terribly important. And again, 39 years of being in university administration, it's kind of striking how many universities really don't understand all of the assets that they're bringing to bear and don't understand how to bring a convergence and that synergistic approach to actually being able to accomplish more across the board. And frankly, given the support and investment this university has made in football and athletic programs more broadly, and what our student body has and how the community has, it was terribly important that as we're looking for a coach, yep, we want to win, but we also want to win the right way. And we need a coach that understands they're not an island by themselves. If football separates from the university and does not view itself as a part of the academy, if it doesn't understand that excellence on the field starts with excellence in the classroom. When that happens, then you lose support. You lose support from the faculty, staff, from the other rest of the student body. They need to see that we're all working towards the same common sense of goals. And I will tell you, I think if you were to talk to Coach Billy, he will say he was excited by the vision that we have and understanding how football connects back to everything else that we're doing. And I think he would tell you that was one of the main reasons. He called his wife immediately after the secret shopper trip and said, "Honey, this is where we need to be."
I'm glad you mentioned the secret shopper trip because that was something that really struck me when you were at your tour of Richmond and you did your President's Tour event. I thought it was really nice to hear that story from your perspective. But I wanted to ask you what it's been like because I've had the pleasure of meeting you a number of times at tailgates just to see how much the JMU community has embraced you and your wife during this fall. I've thought it's been pretty just amazing to see. I was equally as impressed to see how easily Mallory and Matt transitioned into JMU and the Chesneys, but to see it and feel it from your perspective, how special has that been? You were immediately part of the family. You're out at tailgates. It's just been really fun to watch.
Well, I'll quote my wife, Kim. She said it's been nothing short of magical. She has felt instantly at home in Harrisonburg, Virginia, not just in the community, but with the larger Purple Nation, the fan base around JMU. She has made really close, tight-knit friends in a very short amount of time here. We feel in many ways like we've been here for years. And I just want to say directly to all of you, it has meant so much to us that you've embraced us, you've been supportive, you've been willing to hear some of my crazy ideas and allow this opportunity to throw ideas out there, plant seeds, see what could come to fruition. I'm very pragmatic in my approach to making sure we lead an institution in a way that's responsible financially. And frankly, if I can feel that support from the community, from the faculty and the staff and the students, that just eggs me on to want to work that much harder. But we're going to do it together, and it's going to take all of us. And frankly, in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see some pretty exciting plans coming out.
Last two questions. First of all, what was it like to have your first commencement at JMU this week? And to see Alonzo Barnett and some other of our football players cross the stage to a little bit of a thunderous applause. That had to be special as well.
It was a great day. My two favorite times of the year are move-in days and commencement days because much the same reason there's an excitement about what's next, a little bit of nervousness, but commencement is truly about a celebration of the academic achievement. And to see a number of our athletes come across that stage, including our star quarterback, that was pretty fun. And of course, we exchanged additional words. I say congratulations. He thanked me for the support, and I said, looking forward to getting out to Oregon. We're going to disappoint Oregon.
That's fantastic. Last question for me, because I've been thinking about this personally this week. I'm feeling my answer to this question is going to come with a little bit of a tear when it happens, but it's 4:30 Pacific time next Saturday. You're in the stands and you see JMU run out of whatever tunnel it is. What do you think is going to be going through your mind at that moment? Because I know for so many of us, it's going to be special, especially considering where we came from back in the day with JMU football. Never thought we'd get to this moment. Have you given that any thought for what's going to be running through your head and your heart at that moment?
Well,
Again,
I know
4:30 on
it's going to
Saturday.
it's going to be a dream come true for the athletes and all the people that came before us who said we're going to be good at football. We're going to start this program in 1972. I've met with so many of those alums from that football program that could only have dreamed of this. I've had college friends contacting me. Wow, have you ever been in this before? And I'm like, we've only been in FBS for our fourth year, and to be able to be at this stage where we're competing with the big boys, and a lot of people are talking about David and Goliath, but they forget that David's actually the one that won that battle. It was the underdog. It was David that came through that. So it's an exciting time. I will say, as a side note, I'm looking forward to connecting with the president at University of
Yeah, you guys have
Oregon.
a relationship.
We were friends back in Wisconsin. So he was a dean and then provost at UW-Madison. And he left, I think, a year earlier than I did in Wisconsin. So it's ironic that Wisconsin has not had a very good football season. Neither has my previous school as well. And I'm going to have fun with our social media in the coming weeks. Carl is a great guy. He's a great leader, and I'm sure he's doing a fantastic job at Oregon. I've got a phone conversation set up with him tomorrow. We'll have some fun with that. I'm looking
There we
forward
go.
to seeing him.
And maybe actually last thing, because I would be not doing my job if I didn't give you an opportunity to do this. JMU does not get to the college football playoff. I mean, literally speaking, without the work of an incredible group of people behind the scenes. A lot of your staff, the staff of the athletics department. What would be your message? It's the holiday season, to the people who are putting incredible hours in to help make sure that JMU is put in the best possible light next week for the world to see.
Thanks for giving them a shout out. We have a team working around the clock, trying to set things up quickly, whether it be planes to move the team, the band, trying to make sure that all those Dukes that are going out, they have appropriate places for tailgating, that we've got a Duke Club event the night before the game, the coordinating the board members and media, making sure that we've got some students coming, the marching band. I mean, moving a band across the country, a team across the country, is a huge undertaking. And even though this is big time college sports, our staff is not as big as what most of those other teams
Yeah.
are going to have. So it was the end of a tough, long semester. It's always hard at the end of the semester. Everyone's exhausted. So big shout out to everybody in all those offices who are setting up what I think is going to be an exceptional experience for all the fans and everyone that needs to be a part of that. And I think we're going to be celebrating pretty hard. It's a big lift, but I have a lot of confidence.
Well, fantastic. Well, President Jim, thank you again. Your access has been incredible from day one, but also just the way you've approached your position and the way you are consistently doing your job with a smile and a bright vision for what this university can continue to be in the future. It's exciting for all of us, and just know you always have a platform here. Any message you want to get out, the floor will be yours. So we look forward to seeing you. We're all flying out. We'll be there. Michael's going Wednesday, where the rest of us are getting there Thursday. It's going to be a great time for all.
We'll be there, and go Dukes.
Right. Thanks, President Jim. Go Dukes is right. And with that, we're going to get to the rest of our show. I'll bring on Taylor Atkins and Michael Evangelista real quick. Hey, guys, pretty special conversation. You could just see the excitement in President Schmidt. That's the best of this university in action right there, is when you have a leader who's so dialed in on what we're doing now and in the future. Special stuff.
Yeah, well, I was at dinner tonight. My wife looked over at me and she said, 4 years ago when you guys started this Twitter space, did you think that the president of JMU would be coming on your podcast?
Did not.
And no. And, I talked with President Jim before we went on air, and just saying that I feel like I know him because he's been so public facing. He's been so bold in his vision. He's not been shy about his vision for JMU. And so I'm glad we could get him on here tonight. But a lot of the stuff he's already said before, and it gets me excited to see what the future has for JMU with his leadership.
Yeah, and to add to that too, Taylor, like we look at the presser with Coach Napier and, President Schmidt talking about, you're underestimating JMU. He believes in the front porch, right? I think we've talked about it ad nauseum with Jeff Bourne, with the front porch, or sports being the front porch of the university. And he understands that, right? And he knows like all news is good news for the Dukes, and excited to have him on.
Well, guys, it's been an insane week, and I know we're going to get to a conversation with the Oregon perspective in just a second, which I think is vital. Just where are your heads at 6 days from Eugene? We've seen everything you could possibly imagine. We've seen podcasts go viral. We've seen every media outlet in the country offer their opinion, and then some change their opinion. We've seen a little bit of a rallying effect, at least in my opinion, over the last couple of days. Of now you're starting to see a lot of the group of 5 schools kind of come home and realize, hey, it's JMU and Tulane maybe fighting for the future of the group of 5 as a whole to even be invited to the party. All that happening while there's been just an incredible surge, as I mentioned to President Jim, of just intense passion and pride for this university. That to me has been the real special thing about having this kind of break in between games, as we have at the very least been able to soak it in a little bit. It's been special. Whoever wants to take it, I'll go to you first, Taylor.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out. If anyone's not following Herd Bros, HERDBROS, he's a Marshall fan, but he has been probably the biggest proponent for G5 football during the last week, just really pushing the narrative and the message of not only that Tulane and JMU have a shot to go out there and pull off some upsets, but also just the history of what these kind of matchups have looked like in the past. And he's also done a really good job of highlighting how the narrative, a lot of these taglines that you've heard media personalities say, they're not playing the same sport, it's a safety issue. A lot of this stuff is brand new, but this type of matchup is not. So there's clearly a coordinated effort to, again, put as many roadblocks and hurdles in front of, programs like JMU that have to not only win their conference, but be one of the top conference champions. And so a big shout out to Herd Bros. Again, that's HERDBROS on X. Check him out. He's been doing a great job, and I'm sure he will continue leading up to this game next weekend.
I was going to say, John, to answer your question, I'm glad that fans don't have to suit up and play on Saturday, because quite frankly, I'm pretty exhausted, right? Like if you look at all the news, let's recap, right? Like we win. Okay, where do we start? Obviously we win the conference championship on a Friday. Duke UVA going overtime. We're on at 1 a.m. with 3,000 JMU fans going, oh my gosh, we're going to do it. Sunday happens. The UCLA news goes out with Chesney. The Napier news goes out. We go online, right? We have a impromptu podcast. And then we hear the P4 cartel and we hear the safety issues that Taylor's talking about, right? Like it's just been an adrenaline rush, right? For the last 10 days or so. We still have 6 days left. So like I said, I'm glad that fans don't have to play this game and the team has it. And I imagine that they're dialed in. I know this team, this is the last time they're going to play together in the next couple of weeks going through the playoffs. I know they want to end the season the right way. And I think I love President Schmidt's sort of rallying cry around alignment and that everyone is pushing and rowing in the same direction. It's an exciting time, but I'd be lying if I said I'm pretty gassed right now. And it's good to get off the social media, get a digital detox every now and then. I encourage everyone to do it and just like really enjoy it. Like we always talk about.
Well, you have plenty of time to sleep, hopefully, on the flight out to Oregon. It's a long one, so we'll all rest up a little bit. But Michael, do you want to introduce our next guest?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys know on the podcast, we love to bring in a different perspective. So I want to bring along Ryan Winter. He's on the Sports Fan 503. He covers Oregon football. He's been doing it, I believe, since 2010. And we had the privilege of being on with him earlier today. And we'll have him on here and we'll talk Ducks here in a few minutes or a few seconds, actually. There he is. What's up, Ryan? Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm out. I'll be right back.
All right.
We're doing it live.
All right, we're doing it live. Last couple, we've had some taped broadcasts, so we'll adapt, and when he comes back on, we'll bring him in. But Michael, you had a chance to talk with his podcast and his audience a few minutes ago before you came back on. We'll see if Ryan's in now, but let's see. We'll add him in. We'll see if this works.
Michael, why don't you go ahead and tease kind of what your conversation
no audio.
with Ryan was? Oh, here we go.
Dang it. I'm sorry, guys.
Ryan, can you hear us?
All right.
Well,
Michael, why don't you kind of start off and talk a little bit about what you talked about on his podcast earlier today and kind of why people should maybe check that out?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, like Ryan's been a pleasure to speak with over the last week or so when we've talked ball. And I think he offers a different perspective than a lot of the narrative you're hearing right now. I think he's very appreciative of seeing a school like JMU at this stage. He talks a lot about how he was a fan of Oregon before it was Oregon. And what I mean that, right, is like before the jerseys, before the Chip Kelly offense, before Dennis Dixon, before LaMichael James, he was a major fan, and he sees JMU sort of in that light. And to see us sort of rise and be the underdog has been pretty phenomenal. But no, it was a good one. I mean, obviously, he had a lot of questions on who is Wayne Knight, who is AB3, all of this stuff, right? So it was really good to have him on and get his perspective on the team.
So just to give us a little bit of background, you had the opportunity then to hear from him a little bit about this Oregon unit. What are some of the key takeaways you learned from that conversation?
I think it's a hungry group, right? Like I think Dan Lanning, this is an Oregon team that, quite frankly, I think the fans were excited about next year's squad, especially with the amount of freshmen and sophomores they're playing. But they've been super good. Let's not sugarcoat it. This is an elite football team with elite personnel that is going to give us a hard time. And so we talked a little bit about the secondary really stepping up despite the youth back there. Dante Moore, he's only a sophomore. Many don't remember. He was a 5-star quarterback who transferred from UCLA, which now we obviously have some ties into. He's been really phenomenal. He's not the runner that we probably think he is. He's more of a pocket guy, which I think is interesting. But they're good. And I think defensively, they do a lot of what we do, right? They like to have simulated blitzes. They like to crowd the line of scrimmage. They like to force spill plays to the outside where they can utilize a lot of their speed. It's going to be a test, right? And I think it's calling for 55 and rainy on Saturday. Like, can we muck it up a little bit? That could be really interesting for us. But I mean, this is the game and the best team we played all year.
All right, Ryan, we're going to try one more time. Any luck on that end?
I'm trying. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
Dude, I can hear you. It's all good.
There you go. All right,
I don't
Ryan.
know, man. Technology is not my friend sometimes. I don't know, man. That was weird.
It happens.
Hey,
to
what's
the
up,
best of us.
gentlemen? Okay, we're doing this. Let's go.
All right, Ryan. So, first question's the easiest one. When you saw on the Sunday afternoon ESPN broadcast the James Madison Dukes pop up on the screen, what was your reaction? Because for us, it was elation. It was years and years worth of maybe pent up frustration of people saying, "Oh, that's just an FCS school or just a Group of 5 school," kind of roared up to the top like a volcano. But from the Oregon perspective, I'm just curious, what did you see when you saw the JMU name pop up in terms of just your fan base, the reaction from the Oregon community to seeing they were going to play the Dukes?
Well, I saw Taylor in my dreams that night with the outfit on with the I don't know if it was dreams or nightmares, but yeah, man, I was on your guys' stream when you guys were going through that whole thing, and I was just excited for you guys, man. I was pumped up. We didn't really know exactly where Oregon was going to land in the 5 or 6 spot. We get a lot of the whole. I know you guys call it the P5, the P4 cartel, or what is that? What is group? Anyway, I call it the cable overlords. Anyway, the point is that we always feel like we're going to get in some way, shape, or form removed. So. It's one of those things that we got the 5 seed. I think everybody was kind of clamoring for that after last year's debacle at the end of the year with the Rose Bowl with the Ducks. And so, I was rooting for Duke, and I was rooting for you guys, and I thought it was a fun deal. You guys are a good team, and it is what it is. And, I'm trying to support this game. I'm trying to be excited about this game rather than the cable overlords who are telling us that it's a safety issue if they're playing.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, we're really excited to have you here, man, and thanks for having us on your podcast as well. Like we talked about in the other episode, right? We all know Oregon. I think a lot of these kids. I mean, we grew up with the jerseys, we grew up with the Chip Kelly offenses, we grew up with Nike, right? So under Dan Lanning, I think the identity has certainly changed, right? It became a spread, go offense to more of a line of scrimmage, tough physical team, but in your words, what is Oregon football's identity right now going into the playoffs this year?
That's a good question. Yeah, it is much more traditional than it ever was. I think the ideology that Oregon then was kind of playing what would be considered almost a Princeton offense, right? How do we compete against the big boys without having the big boys? How do we do something different? We're going to zig when they zag, whatever the case may be. And so Chip was doing a bunch of new stuff that was not really anything new. I mean, it was Carlisle Indian. Half the playbook was from the Carlisle Indians. Back in the day, he dusted off the old playbooks from, 100 years ago when we weren't even throwing the ball. And so the idea is that, a lot of this stuff wasn't new. Football is not a new game, but it was just a new interpretation of it, mixed with the speed, mixed with the tempo, mixed with everything else. It kind of worked. And then, but at the same time, anytime you went up against a really good traditional team, you got served, they dropped you into the deep end, and, you couldn't win on the line of scrimmage. So, Mario Cristobal was the real catalyst there. He's the one who really changed things here. He got much deeper into the trenches. He got much deeper into the recruiting and started to become a little bit more of a national brand. And then Dan Lanning has just run with it. He's got a defensive-minded mindset from Kirby Smart's crew, and he's just he's built a real winner here. And I don't know exactly what his brand is necessarily. And I think that's probably a good thing because he's very versatile, and I think you can win in a variety of different ways.
Right. We were kind of joking around before the podcast that we've probably watched more Oregon football than ever before, but we probably don't know the team inside and out. But we do play a lot of NCAA. And when we play, there's a lot of stars next to the Oregon players, whether it's on offense or defense. Tell us about the offensive side of the ball. We all know Dante Moore, 5-star kid. I think he transferred from UCLA. We talked about that earlier, but he's only a sophomore. Who and what should JMU know when we are on defense?
Man, smooth operator, good in the pocket, really good in clutch situations. I mean, you go back and watch some of the really important throws that they need to make at a crucial time, and he puts it right on the money. And down the wide receivers this year a little bit. Wide receivers got hurt, and early and often we lost one for the year at the beginning of the year. We lost another one halfway through to Corian Moore. He's our freshman standout, and then we lose another one during the regular season. So we're down to basically our fourth string, fifth string wide receiver, some guys who were, wouldn't necessarily see the same kind of playing time. And they really stepped up, did a great job. And so everything else in that is good with us. And I think they really set tone as a running team. The running backs, there's 2 different running backs. Is there a crackling going? I'm hearing in the audio. Is it my end? Is it crackling on the audio?
Not sure where it's coming from, but we're just going to have to roll through.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no problem. So yeah. The running game's great. I think the Ducks have really good up front. Looking for the Joe Moore Award possibly on the front line. So it's a great team.
Yeah, I saw that. There's pictures of that tight end. I think his name is Sadiq Faye. Is
Kenyon
that correct?
Sadiq. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looks unguardable. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's great tight end. I don't think he had quite the numbers to win the best tight end in the country award, but he missed a couple games for injury. But absolutely stud. A little bit not as tall as some of the traditional tight ends we've had out here lately, but really, really good player. Really good in the run blocking. A little bit over kill in the run blocking sometimes. Sometimes gets a late penalty. So, yeah.
Awesome. And then defensively, right? I think Oregon, we talked about JMU talks about their defense a lot statistically, but I think Oregon's probably is about as statistically dominant of a defense as they've come. Tell us what a Dan Lanning defense looks like. Who are the guys that we need to know, and what can we expect when we have the ball on offense?
Yeah, the defense, man, that's I think the Ducks are really trying to hang their hat up front. They had some transfer guys in late. They basically graduated everybody on the front line to the NFL last year, and a lot of guys were coming up ready to go. Amari Washington's really good in the middle. Tatum Tiote on the side, number 44. Mateo Iungile on the other side, number 10. Really, really strong up the middle. Bryce Betcher's a guy who's a really fun local legend type of a guy. He's a walk-on. He's our middle linebacker, 100 tackles this year, number 28, stud player. And then Dylan Thieneman is a transfer from Purdue, number 31, who's played really well this year. And then the defensive side, on the defensive back side, I think was kind of the weakness going into the year, and then turns out to be one of the biggest strengths of the year, especially led by the freshman. They've got a freshman back there, Brandon Finney, who's just really, really good. Could be one of the best corners in the country.
Well, Ryan, I've watched some of your podcasts leading up to this, and I think you guys do a great job. There is a bit of a JMU connection, maybe some don't realize, between Oregon and JMU, is that Chip Kelly was in the Atlantic 10 with New Hampshire, while JMU in those late 90s, early 2000 seasons. And that's kind of, the Joey Harrington years, I think, when I first kind of became aware of Oregon being on the East Coast. And I just remember when Chip Kelly went out there, I thought it was pretty neat that someone from the Atlantic 10 conference, or what became the CAA, was going out to Oregon. And I also remember I talked to a college football coach one time. You guys were early in the uniform swag game. You guys were the kind of folks that revolutionized that. And I think I remember someone telling me one of the recruiting pitches was that if you come to Oregon for 4 years, you'll never wear the same jersey twice at one point. So a lot of respect for Oregon. But like myself, a lot of East Coasters, their familiarity with Oregon is just what they know from the brand, what they know from the highlight reels. Walk us through your season a little bit, because there doesn't really seem to be a weak spot on your schedule this year. You've dominated the mediocre teams. You've gone head-to-head with the good teams. You had a 10-point loss to Indiana, but I think that, in my book, that puts you in the top 5 of the country to come that close with Indiana. But just kind of walk through, if JMU fans are looking at your schedule, what are the 1 or 2 games that you would say were your highs, and what are the 1 or 2 games that you would say were the lows for the season?
Yeah, well, they went on kind of a little bit of a coach crushing tour. They ended up playing a lot of these teams and defeating them to the point where it felt like their coach was then on the hot seat and then fired. The biggest one, obviously, is James Franklin. One of the biggest games I think a lot of people were looking forward to at the beginning of the year was Oregon at Penn State. I went to that one. It was an amazing atmosphere. A game that I think Oregon had in the bag most of the game, and then they let them back in the fourth quarter. So if you're going to watch a film, watch that fourth quarter when Penn State just stuck to their guns. They kept to their running game. They made the decisions they needed to make to put themselves right into it. And then they went into overtime, took the lead in overtime. But again, even in that game, plays were made that needed to be made by Dante Moore, and man, got the job done. And then the Northwestern game, the Oregon State game, I don't think anybody really expected that much out of that. The Northwestern game actually was a pretty good game over there on the lake. And then the Indiana game. Indiana game was, I think a lot of people are underestimating Indiana. Ducks might have underestimated them as well. They were kind of the first real big game on Indiana's tour this year. Coming out to Autzen Stadium and winning the game is tough. Indiana had no problem doing it. They were the confident team right out of the gate. A lot of those guys were JMU guys, so definitely, something for you guys to watch that film and see guys like Surratt just completely dominate. And I think there was also something to be said about that game. The Oregon just didn't take advantage in the late game. It was pretty close, actually, until the fourth quarter. About 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, I still think it was probably a 7-point game. And then, I think the Ducks really just kind of regrouped after that, put pedal to the metal, had some really tough weather games. The game up in Iowa was really tough weather-wise. Wisconsin game here was super rainy. And then they planned out at the end of the year, USC and Washington. Great games, great wins. And again, they can win in a variety of ways. They can beat you scoring 40 points. They can beat you scoring 20 points. So I think they're a very good team.
So what are, in the brief time that you've been able to kind of scout JMU, what are some things that you've seen from JMU, either offense or defense, that you would maybe say to Oregon fans, like, this is why this game might be a little bit more competitive than you think? And also maybe tie in, if the weather does hold, where you're looking at 40s and potential rain, where do you see that playing as it relates to Oregon in their game?
Yeah, because we're kind of in the season right now where it could be 40s or 50s and raining any day of the week. So it's just one of those things where, we're close enough to the coast that it just feels like the coast. Like, that's just kind of how it works during the wintertime. But I think, I'm really impressed with your guys' quarterback, Alonzo Barnett. I mean, the guy, just an absolute stud. Like, Mike was on my podcast just a little bit ago and talking about his journey, and it's just so admirable where he's put this team. And Of course, Wayne Knight has just exploded this year. Looks really good. And I've gone back and watched your guys' film and, different games. And it's just so cool to see you guys win in a variety of different ways with a variety of different groups of guys. Some guys are the MVP of one game, and the next game it's somebody else, and somebody else as you go down the season. But I think Sahir West is the guy who is just, I think everybody has their eyes on. I'm assuming a bunch of other guys in the transfer portal have their eyes on him too, and just are waiting for the call, which of course I hope doesn't happen. I hope he stays with you guys, but man, he is incredible as a freshman, freshman of the year for you guys. So I really like what you guys do defensively. Mike and I were, like I was saying just on a second ago, similar type of stuff, I think defensively, a lot of simulated pressure stuff on both sides of the ball, but it should be a good game. It's fun team to watch. You guys have a really fun team to watch, and I'm just really impressed with how you guys went through your guys' season and finished the thing off. Some serious blowouts in your guys' season, and that only happens when you have a really good team.
I want to ask you, because you brought it up, the weather. So for people who have not made their trip out to the Pacific Northwest in the past, I've gone out a couple of times. That rainy, kind of windy coastal weather, I actually love it. But for packing purposes, so if there are JMU fans watching this, what should we bring to Autzen Stadium? Is this like we're talking a thicker winter jacket? Are we talking rain gear? What are you thinking?
Yeah, if you're a golfer, bring your rain gear. Bring your rain pants. Easy money. Okay. I wear the Nike. I'm a golfer. I'm a golf coach. So, at my local high school. So I wear the rain pants. You're solid. You're totally fine. And then every day is sweatshirt season out here. And so like today, for example, I'm in shorts. It's sweatshirt and shorts. Today it's 54 degrees and it's going to get 38 overnight because there's no rain. So it gets a little colder at night when there's no rain. But then when it gets rainy, the low only gets to like 43. Again, it's just whatever the coastal temperature is. The average temperature of the Pacific Ocean right now is 53 degrees. So it's our degrees as well. That's just how we live our life out here. We're only, as the crow flies, 50, 60, 70 miles from the beach. So it's going to be wet in the air naturally. It's not like a humidity type of thing like you have on the East Coast when it's hot. It's the humidity type of thing when it's cold. So, and then it could be some wind. So yeah, rain gear is good. Any sort of scarf or any sort of head. It's going to be a night game. It starts at 4:30. So the sun will be down. Be a raucous atmosphere. No hot water in the bathrooms at Autzen Stadium. That's a drag unless you're in the club level. That's a drag. But there's heaters up there. So yeah, if you got the little heaters with your hands, that sort of stuff, that all helps. But yeah, man, it's a good environment. It's a fun time. Lots of really good food in the place. There's food carts and everything around the stadium. There's different stuff at every different, place. If you go to, you can go across the way to the other side of the way. It's two different things on either side of the concourse when it comes to condiments or whatever you want to get. So there's a lot of good stuff. Of course, we know we love our beer out here. We got great wine out here. If you like wine, our Pinot Noir is some of the best in the world. Our beer is fantastic. We love the IPAs out here. So,
well, this is the stuff that I wanted to learn.
Yeah, because I'm glad you brought up the stadium, because our producer will tell you there are two schools in the Big Ten where I've always wanted to go to see a game. Penn State was one of them, and Autzen Stadium in Oregon was the other. Tell us what makes Autzen Stadium special, because from the early days of being able to play the video game, like that was always the stadium. Before you could play as JMU, I always played as Oregon. First, it was the uniforms. I always loved the look and feel of the stadium. What makes the atmosphere there so special, and why are JMU fans in for a treat?
Well, it's fun because it's a little bowl. It's, if you've ever been into a big bowl, our big bowls that we've gone to is obviously the Rose Bowl. It's huge, but it's all connected. You can walk all the way around the concourse. You can walk all the way around. Our bowl is a little bit different because it's more sunk into the ground. So it's a little bit more elevated on the sides than the traditional bowl, like the big one, like at Big House. Big House is super wide and spread out. Doesn't really have the elevation that Autzen has. Autzen was built into a dump. There was a city dump, garbage dump. So they dug into the thing and built this thing into it. But it's a beautiful setting. It's right up against the river. It's right across the campus from the river. So the river kind of cuts through campus and where Autzen is. And they've expanded it tremendously. Now there's a baseball field there, a soccer field there. They're going to have the new indoor practice facility that they're just building. They have the old indoor practice facility that they already have. They're going to have the new practice fields. There's a science center over there. There's all sorts of different cool stuff. But I went to Penn State. Penn State is exactly the opposite of Autzen State. And Penn State is just miles and miles of tailgating. They give you the map, and the map of Penn State, and the stadium is like this big on the map. It's like an 8.5 by 11 page. and it's all tailgating. And just in the middle, like the size of like a peanut M&M, is the stadium. I said, that's the stadium? And I mean, just and where we parked, we tailgated, it was just beautifully manicured grass that was perfectly mowed, perfectly flat, in a locked, gated area. People all just drove in, parked on beautiful grass. It's like, what is this place? Are we in heaven? This is literally tailgate heaven. I couldn't believe it. So Autzen Stadium is a fun place. It should be a raucous atmosphere. Hopefully people treat you right and have a fun time out here.
Awesome. Michael.
Well, I was going to say, before we hop into more football stuff, tell us a little bit about what parking looks like over there. Because I know a lot of us, I mean, some of us have buses, some of us are renting cars, not familiar with the area. What does that look like at Oregon?
So parking is kind of tough. There's a stretch across the street from Autzen where there's all the tailgating parking spots, and they have been filling up pretty quickly as of late. There's parking all around that area, but you're going to have to pay for it. The parking in right next to the stadium is really tough to get. So your best bet is to park within about a mile of the stadium and walk in. But if you park right across from the stadium on MLK, you can see it on the map. When you look, you can see there's a street. Martin Luther King Boulevard is right here, and the Autzen Stadium's here, and there's all these different lots right across the street from it. And that's where the big tailgate zones are. There's plenty of parking. I mean, everybody gets there and fine, but it's not like it was at Penn State. Holy moly. I mean, also Penn State, twice the size of Autzen Stadium. Autzen Stadium is, 56,000. You can jam 60 into it if you really need to, kind of a thing. The Ohio State game last year was the biggest game we've ever seen when it comes to attendance. I think it was 60, right at 60,000. But it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be great. We've never hosted anything like this other than we had a Pac-10 or Pac-12 championship game first year against UCLA, 2011, something like that. And so
I was gonna say, this is your first. I mean, obviously the college football playoffs only been around so long, but this is the first time Oregon's hosted it, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of buzz around it. Before I forgot who plays in the next round, but it should be a good time for y'all.
Well, especially after what happened last year. See, what happened last year is Oregon being the number 1 seed. Everybody's like, oh, this is so great. You're going to get the bye, and then you get the bye, and then you get Ohio State. The buzzsaw comes and meets you in Pasadena. And you're just like, it's the moment the first quarter ended and the game ended, quote unquote, we're immediately thinking, okay, God, just please get us the freaking home game next year. We don't want anything to do with this bye.
Well, let's touch on that a little bit, because I think there's two things, right? You haven't played. I think Oregon hasn't played in 3 to 4 weeks. Obviously, the Big Ten championship was Ohio State and Indiana. We saw the reports, right? You've seen the impact of the coaching carousel. I think your offensive coordinator is off to Kentucky. Tosh Lupoi, your defensive coordinator, is off to, I think, Cal. Obviously, our coach is off to UCLA and all of that good stuff. What's the vibe right now, right? The team hasn't played in almost a month. You've got coordinators in and out. Like, what does it look like on the ground right now? And what's the vibe of the team and the program?
I think it's just better than it's ever been. I think good programs lose coaches because, they're good programs. And I think Oregon's been historically a good program, and we've lost plenty of coaches to other programs, right? And so Dan Lanning, whether I think now it's been 2 years, I think, in the recruiting cycle, had a parent worried about him going, I guess, to the Alabama job. And he said, nope, I'm going to stay here. And she said, would you make like a video saying that to send to us or something? And he's like, sure. And he has the creative team knock the thing out, and then they put it on. And that's where his whole kind of the grass is damn green in Eugene slogan came from. And I say, it's the number one thing that's happened during his time, because he's telling the entire world, I'm not interested in your job. I'm staying here. He's talking about staying here for life now. He's talking about trying to break Rich Brooks's record and Mike Bellotti's records. And I mean, he's talking about like lineage type stuff, which is phenomenal to me. That's what we want, right? We want a good coach to stay. Who doesn't? But any good coach who stays long enough is going to have to graduate those assistants, and he now makes it a part. He said, on a podcast the other day, he said he used to have the NFL as a dream, and now he's replaced it with help others achieve their dreams, right? Help others guys get their goal. So Tosh Lupoi this year, I mean, almost made you cry, him being able to go back to his alma mater, an absolute stud. A guy who we wanted as Ducks for years and years, finally got him. He was awesome for us. Now he gets to go home and do the right thing there. And then Will Stein. Will Stein grew up Kentucky guy. His dad, and mom both went there. And So it's really fun to see on that level. It's fun to see it. And for you guys as well. I mean, you guys got to take a lot of pride in Signetti doing what he's doing. I mean, I know it's not with you guys, but dude, that's still like a pretty important thing. I mean, he took the most losingest team of all time and turned it around in 2 years. And people are talking. I saw somebody tweet me something today. He says, "What do you think of this?" It was like something saying, Indiana did in 2 years what Oregon's tried to do in 20. And it's like, well, dude, you just instead of trying to tear one team down for not winning the national championship. Sorry, Cam Newton. Who the heck was going to be Cam Newton that year? Dude, come on. The SEC, nobody even touched the guy. You know, Oregon played him better than anybody else. And then we had the dang Ohio State thing with played the third string quarterback with our Heisman Trophy winner and still lose by 20. I mean, you want to talk about Ohio State, dude. They're on another level. So, again, I'm really excited for you guys. I'm really excited for the Ducks. I'm really excited for this game. The CFP is going to be a phenomenal time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're all 2023 was pretty hard time for, I think, the JMU fans, right? Seeing Cincinnati go, I think we lost 19 players, or there was 13 or 19 players to Indiana, et cetera. But we get it too, right? I think we take a lot of pride. I mean, obviously Coach Chesney going to the Big Ten, seeing what Cincinnati did. He created a Heisman quarterback. We saw that, right, with Fernando Mendoza, and we saw what he did here too. And I think we're barking up the right tree, right? I think we all know Dan Lanning was on that Alabama staff. Signetti was on that same staff. And then obviously Billy Napier was on that staff as a wide receivers coach. It's pretty cool to see kind of the success going. I guess for you, like you mentioned, let's go back a little bit to the rain side of it. When push comes to shove, when we look at like, how can we find some success and maybe even muck this game up a little bit? How do you think an Oregon team would be in sort of a slow, muck it up, rainy game? Is that a concern for you all, or do you feel like you've got the right personnel in that type of format?
Well, like I said, I think they can win in a variety of ways. I think the best game to look at, if you want to look at that, is Iowa, right? Iowa came out with probably the best defense that we saw all year. A very just tenacious, pesky defense. Good up front, historically had really good pressure on quarterbacks. And I think Oregon kind of just played their game, which is really surprising, because you would think that Oregon would try to, go over the top on them or anything. It was a tough game. Weather conditions were bad, but if you want to look at a blueprint, if you want to rewatch a game to kind of see where Oregon can kind of get pulled into the deep end a little bit, that's the game. And they had to make a couple big plays at the end. They did clutch plays. But you got to tip the cap, Iowa is a good team. Iowa ran up against some really good teams this year, just didn't have the firepower to do it, but still made a really good game and probably should have won that game against Oregon. So I would say if you're looking for one game to rewatch, if you're a Dukes fan, put on that Hawkeye game.
I just have to kind of wrap up. I have one fan kind of question. A lot of people like myself have never been out to Eugene, have never been out to Portland. A lot of people are staying and flying into Portland. Can you, so two things. One, can you maybe give some tips for people, things to do if they have a day off before the game? And also, what are some Oregon game day traditions that you think JMU fans would enjoy seeing either beforehand or look forward to during the game?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I love Portland. A lot of the national media has been giving Portland a tough run as of late, but my family's all from Portland. We're all multi-generational. My grandparents went to Oregon. My parents went to Oregon. My son's there now. All Portland Ducks. We all travel up and down I-5 to U of O for all these games, as do a lot of people. Portland's a great city. Portland is a Wild West city. It's definitely out here on the West Coast. It's a grimy city, but it's beautiful at the same time. Hopefully, the weather works out for you guys and it's not just complete rainstorm, but lots of really, really good stuff to do if you're in Portland. A lot of really good food. The restaurant scene obviously is popping here. Actually, a lot of the best food have now gone to the food carts instead of the brick and mortar restaurants, but still a lot of really good things there. But our nature is like really what sets us apart. I mean, we're an hour from the mountain. We're an hour and a half from the beach. The coastline is phenomenal. I'm a big fan of the beach. My family has always been really connected to the beach. And so I spend a lot of my time out at the beach. And so you can easily go from Oregon or from Portland and fly to PDX, drive out to the beach, come back that night, spend a whole day out there. Or you can stay the night out there. If you have an extra night, that's fine too. Game day traditions at Oregon, a lot of people walk over from campus. This is going to be a weird game because there's no students. School just got out, so it's going to be kind of a weird one. Like I said, I don't know exactly if we're going to fill this thing up or not. It sounds blasphemous to say, but ticket prices I think are pretty high, and I think a lot of people bought up tickets and trying to resell them on the market, and I just don't know with everybody's travel plans and the holiday. This is coming up against not a scheduled event, right? So I think it's going to be a packed house. I think there'll be plenty of people there, but a lot of the traditions that might normally be there might not be there because this is not really a regular Oregon sanctioned event. But our big thing is the third quarter. We run the shout. That song "Shout" is from the show Animal House. Well, not the original song, but the version of it that we play is from the Animal House movie. Animal House was filmed on campus when my parents were there. So we really kind of lean into the history. The big thing about us is Nike was born here. Nike is from here. Like Phil Knight is from the same neighborhood that I'm from. I grew up on 35th Street. My wife grew up on 37th Street. Phil Knight grew up on 36th Street of the same cross street. His sister still lives in the house. So it's not like, I think a lot of people try to throw a lot of shade at Oregon for this, U of O connection to Nike. It is legitimate. We do have a connection because it was born here, and it should be, and so we've embraced it. They never left, which is the important thing. They could have gone anywhere for their company, but they didn't. They stayed here and they benefit us and we benefit them. So it's been a fun ride, for us as Duck fans. We're trying to get to the ultimate, which is that national championship. We're trying to be in the national conversation. We're trying to be respected as one of the best teams in the country. They've worked very hard to get to this place. And now we're in a position where we're back-to-back years in the CFP. And we think that maybe next year's team might be better. So it's never been a better time to be a Duck fan. I'm telling you, this is the sweet spot.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks for taking some of your Sunday. I'll say I'm biased because I love Duke Dog, but next to Duke Dog, you guys have the best mascot in college sports. Always loved them. Can't wait to meet the Duck at some point while I'm out there. But seriously, all the best to you, and I can't wait to meet you when we get out there, and it's going to be a fun time for all the Dukes that are making the trip. But everyone, at least in our interactions in the Oregon fan base, from the moment we heard we were going to Eugene, has been all class, and I hope it's been reciprocated. That's the way it should be. That's what college sports is all about. And enjoy the week leading up to the game.
Thank you so much. Yeah, your guys' Twitter game is very strong. I know there's a lot of people who are really respecting your guys' Twitter game across the board. And I think a lot of Duck fans are excited about this one. We love our mascot. I think you guys got a great mascot as well. I think it looked better, could possibly look better on Taylor than it did maybe even on the actual mascot. I think you were pulling it off pretty well that night. But I'm very proud of you guys, and I'm very happy for you guys. And yes, I would love to tailgate with you guys, have a beer before the game. I do get thirsty at these football games.
As do we.
So definitely I'd love to hang out. I hang out on the east entrance of Autzen Stadium. My tailgate's right across from that east entrance. So I'll be there for about an hour before the game if you guys want to stop by.
Awesome.
Let me know. And again, try to find me on Sports Chat 503. I do a live stream Tuesday night. I'll be live Tuesday night if you want to come on in. You guys can all get a link if you guys have any time, 5:30, 7:30 East on the West Coast time. I'm here, man. I'm here to chat. So thank you guys so much.
Real quick, plug all your social channels.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Sports Chat 503. I keep it pretty basic. I mean, I'm not the best when it comes to promoting myself or promoting the brand, but I've been out here a long time. I'm true to it. I go to all the games. I'm booked for everything as much as I can be. My son is a great follow, Darby Winter Photo. I always try to hype my son up. My son is a sophomore at Oregon, professional photographer. He's the Big Ten photographer for the U of O. And so he's at all the games on the field. Good shots there. Darby Winter Photo. And then I'm Sports Chat 503. Thank you guys so much. You guys are the best, man. And I love your whole scene. And I wish the best for you guys. And you guys are on the rise too. You guys are getting better, right?
Hey, and if you have any pull, get us a Big Ten update invite. We're sure to.
Hey, man.
President Jim was on earlier. He says we're always looking to what comes next.
Hey, Notre Dame might be close, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and I don't think there's ever been a stronger pull to get into a conference than Notre Dame this year, right?
Their fan base is a little less excited about us.
We need
than
one
maybe.
more.
Exactly.
Imagine you guys instead of Virginia.
Yeah. We'll
Sorry
take that.
there.
Thanks again, right? We'll see you soon, man.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you again.
All right. And with that, guys, great conversation. Ultimately, whatever happens next Saturday, that's what it's all about. This is the way it should be. It should be fun. It should be respectful. And obviously you can tell his passion for the program is so genuine, and really excited about a lot of things he said about the Portland area too. I've actually traveled there for work before and had a great experience. He is not wrong about the food scene. It's electric. And he's also not wrong about the weather. It just seems like it rains every day. Yeah, so it'll be good. I'm glad it's not gonna be as cold as maybe some people think but it'll be wet, but it'll be great. Guys, we covered a lot today, obviously. And with President Jim and our roundabout, we talked about just kind of the emotions of this week. Anything else you guys want to touch on just leading towards next Saturday? I know there's going to be a lot of conversation this week. So Taylor, just the overall atmosphere, I know is something you wanted to discuss.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot, both some I'll call the more casual JMU fan, the one that's maybe just kind of jumped on board the last few years or really just jumping on board this year because of the success, and you get a lot of people where it says, aren't y'all just happy to be there? Or, man, sorry you drew Oregon. It's going to be a blowout. And I just, not only does JMU's history not say that, but the history of these games in general don't typically say that. Now, look, I'll preface this with saying not only is Oregon the 5 seed, I think this is probably one of the better 5 seeds you're going to see in the near future. I think Oregon is stacked. I think they really, as Ryan was talking about, they really don't have a weak link. It's going to come down more to JMU's execution, our lack of mistakes, and kind of, can we do that thing that maybe Washington State and Marshall did to us this year? Can we control time of possession? Can we drag this game out, give them fewer possessions so that they have to make fewer mistakes? But there are so many things about the current national landscape. I'm going to maybe say half of them, and I'll turn it back over to y'all to give you some feedback, because I don't want to – this could be a 20-minute rant if I do this. But, the first big thing comes down to that whole – we've heard this 12 best teams. It's not the 12 best teams. It's not the 12 best teams. We addressed this last week. That's not a format that exists in any sport, at any league, in any country in the world when it comes to amateur or professional sports. And what that really does is it devalues – what's the purpose of a conference? That's kind of where the logical conclusion to this 12 best teams argument goes, is we don't need conferences. All 136 teams go out and schedule whatever you want to schedule, put together the best schedule. And at the end of the year, you just have a committee pick the 12 best teams. There has to be something about winning your league or division or conference or whatever that says. And in our case, there's a dividing line between the P4 and the G6, right? And they only give 5 conference champions. So not only did we have to be one of the best G5, but in order to get our spot, we had to beat out one of the quote unquote P4 conferences. And as I said earlier this week, it's, nothing is sweeter than it being the ACC is who we beat out, and we beat them out by UVA losing. And, when it comes to the Virginia Tech, the ODU, the UVA talk, this year, it's really hard to prove who was not the top of the game of those schools, and it was JMU. And so this sweetheart deal also, and Ryan was kind of talking about Notre Dame needing to get into a conference, this sweetheart deal where Notre Dame gets this automatic berth into the playoffs as long as they're in the top 12. I still don't think the national media or a lot of fans realize how this playoff system works, because, again, it was always advertised as the G5 spot, correct? Like the one G5 spot. So they're confused why there's 2. But I've had some people say to me, good thing Notre Dame did that this year. So, otherwise, JMU wouldn't be in it. And I said, I don't think you understand what's happening here. That would have knocked out Miami, a team who is ranked above them and a team who they lost to head-to-head. So this adage, I say this not necessarily for the people listening to this podcast. They know all of this, but as growing the fan base, it's an organic thing. That's a peer-to-peer relationship kind of thing. When someone brings up the fact of, James, you should just be lucky to be there. You got to be honest that you're not going to come within 40, 50. I was talking to my buddy Tim Stefanovich on the phone recently, and he said his father-in-law was like, if you guys can keep it within 50, I think that's respectable. And it's just like, those are the people that haven't watched JMU, that haven't watched G5, that haven't been paying attention to the landscape. And these lines that I said earlier about the safety issue, and it's not the same game. Let me just go at it, and then I will kick it over to y'all, because I've gone long enough. But of the last 11 playoff games, of the last 39 playoff games, 14 have been blowouts of 21 plus points. And a lot of those were not the G5 game. Matter of fact, in the G5 games, you've had the last 11 G5 P4 games, only 2 blowouts of 21 plus points or more. So, statistically, this should be a competitive game down to the end. I think the other thing that's funny is that, you've had this Well, now I'm losing all my concentration, but yeah,
I'm glad you bring the one thing about these blowouts, because where my head's been at this week, and this is, I'm going to preface it by saying it's deeply unfair, what I'm going to say to put this pressure on JMU, but I'm not the only one doing it. It feels like JMU and Tulane literally are playing, though, for the future of the group of five, because you could just feel, and for all the people who will say, well, the media doesn't control what the people in the boardroom, yeah, they actually kind of do. In a lot of ways with college football, you kind of see how these big power players and media influence their decisions. It just feels as if either of our schools or both of our schools lose by anything more than 2 scores, they're going to spin the narrative that this is some sort of historic blowout. And that's why there is legitimate reason where people say, don't take the bait, don't respond to these people, don't. But I actually think in this case, it is going to be incumbent upon group of 5 schools and their leadership to push back on this narrative, because it is important for the future of college football, at least in my opinion. You can tweak the system if it's expanding the system or what the criteria is to get in. I'm all for that. But if we are moving towards a place where it literally is impossible, and you're seeing so many of these players now, just do a group of 5 playoff. And what I've loved seeing is the pushback in that's the FCS. And for all these people saying, oh, it will be great, it will be fantastic, and we'll make it, we'll hype it, and we'll put a ton of media. Tell me who are the final 4 teams in the FCS this year. Many people can't. And that's where I do think these conversations are important, but why this game and the outcome is going to matter for the future of the group of 5 and the future of JMU football. It is incumbent that we do have a good showing, but that's why I'm also so confident in this group. From everything that's coming out of the program, they are as dialed in as it can go, and the pride that these athletes have in this program is real. And we've shown time and time again that this team, every time somebody says, JMU, you're going to get blown out when you play X, that's just not the history of JMU football.
Well, and going off the history too, and I'm going to use AP rankings for this, because in some of these games that I'm about to list, you didn't have the CFP ratings yet. So, back in 2013 in the Fiesta Bowl, you had a number 15 UCF team going up against a number 6 Baylor. If that sounds familiar, we're 19-5 with Oregon JMU. UCF beat them 52-42. They beat them by 10. In 2015, you had number 18 Houston going up against number 9 FSU. Houston beat them 38-24, beat them by 14. 2014, you had number 20 Boise State going up against number 10 Arizona, probably the closest in differentiating between the rankings. Boise State won 38-30. And then there's a ton of games also where it's a 1 or 2 score game, and a lot of those scores they broke away at the end of the fourth quarter. So I say all of this to over the next week, you're going to have conversations with some more casual JMU fans, but more than likely you're going to have a lot of conversations with college football fans that have not watched a lot of JMU football, and they're going to have statements like, just be glad to be there. Just, it's probably going to be a blowout. Obviously, I'm the biggest homer in the world, but I've watched 13 games of JMU football this year. I saw what their defense did against Louisville, and I brought this up last podcast. We held Louisville 124 yards below their average. And when I say their average, that Louisville average is over the course of a year of Louisville playing an entire slate of P4 teams, okay? So I know our defense can go up against Oregon, but this Oregon team, I'm not naive. This is one of the best teams in the country. This is legitimately a team that can challenge the entire field for a national championship. But when you look at this, there's just got to be, we talk about the players and the coaches, they're locked in. I know that they believe they can go out there and win this. As a fan base, and for us to continue to grow this fan base organically, you don't need to just be a homer. I think there is a legitimate reason that you need to be able to engage in discussions on why JMU should, and I think will, go out and be competitive in this game into the second half. And there's a chance that JMU can pull off the upset again, just like a host of teams that I just rallied off. And I do think there's one interesting thing. I was looking at Josh Pate, who again is another talking head. Herd Bros, give him a shout out again. He posted a Josh Pate clip from I think 2 or 3 years ago when Marshall beat Notre Dame, and Marshall was going like, listen, a lot of people don't give G5 the respect. If this game went any longer, Marshall would have beaten him by more, and was talking about the G5 and how at that level there's not a lot of overlap. So something's changed in the way he's saying things now. But he did bring up a good point that our good friend Eric Pitzer brought up years ago, probably 20 years at this point. I would love someday for a relegation promotion thing to kind of catch on the way it has in soccer to catch on in college football. The only reason I don't see that happening is because, like we've talked about, and a lot of people are also talking about, I do think there's another alignment probably coming down the road at some point where the way they're going to eliminate this G5 P4 thing is they're just going to take, the top teams at whatever cutoff that is and just kind of go and do their own thing. But just as a fan, it is fun to kind of talk about the whole relegation promotion thing, because I do think that if you had, let's say in this scenario, let's say JMU was paired up with, I'm just going to say the SEC because we're a Southeast Conference, they're a Southeast Conference. A lot of people say, well, if JMU went to the SEC, they wouldn't be as successful. I said, yeah, but there would be a lot of eyeballs on JMU and what they do that this year. And likewise, I think Mississippi State finished at the bottom of the SEC. I might be wrong, but let's say it was Mississippi State dropped down to the Sun Belt. I bet Mississippi State gets a lot more eyeballs than it normally gets, because it's going to say, okay, are they going to dominate like we think they would in the SEC, or are they going to continue to struggle and not even win that conference? So a little fan fiction there, but again, go out this week in the conversations around the water cooler, at the lunch table, and be able to defend why this is not just homerism, that JMU is expecting to go to Eugene, Oregon, play a competitive game. And if we play the way we do and we execute the way we have at our best this year, we have a chance to win this game.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, Taylor, because I was going to say, even in my group chats, like usually it's number one, I mean, we're all from the state of Virginia. While it's fun to see that, obviously Duke beating UVA, the association of it is also the opposite's true, right? It's like, oh, well, you're only in because Virginia lost, blah, 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 and whatever. And you see all the Barstool accounts and whatnot talking about it. But then also it's like, well, you guys are just going to go and get blown out, right? That's like the first reaction, right, in these group chats and such. And I love what you said, Taylor, like educate yourself, right? Like, a lot of these games, we saw it with the conference championship games. They're naturally blowouts. And we just know that the narrative is that, oh, the G5 shouldn't be here. James Madison shouldn't be here, blah, 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 blah. People don't realize if Virginia beat Duke, we would be still having the same exact conversation about Notre Dame, BYU, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. It's gonna happen, right? And I think, like, us James Madison fans, you got to take the heat, right? Like President Schmidt said, JMU, keep talking about us, blah, blah, blah. Like, keep rolling up to social media. It's more eyes on us at the end of the day. So I think it's an exciting week. I'm thrilled to go out there to Oregon on Wednesday. It'll be great to kind of wrap up things on the JMU front. I think to see, I don't know if you guys saw Mike Barber's article today about the resourcing for Coach Napier and what they've done. We're not competing with, it doesn't sound like we're competing with the Sun Belt Conference, right? He was talking about resourcing James Madison to be the top of the G6. And when you think of that, what that looks like, it's, South Florida is going into debt to be the top of the rev share right now. Tulane has money out the wazoo, right? Memphis has, oh my gosh, FedEx, right? They have the FedEx money, right? The article talks about Rowan being, we are going to resource James Madison to not just be on top of the Sun Belt, to be on top of the G6, which I think for us, Taylor, to your point around potential realignment, how do we keep James Madison on the right side of that conversation? It has to be alignment from the top down.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, because I know you have some other points, but I want to point out, and this is kind of what really fired me up when I'm going back and forth on X with people from the American Conference, is programs like North Texas and Tulane and USF talking down to JMU. I'm like, USF, we took a wide receiver from you. We took your quarterback and made him a star. Tulane, I know you've had a hot couple of years, but prior to that, I mean, 6 or 7 wins was a luxury for Tulane. And don't even get me started at North Texas, because I haven't said it yet this podcast, but here it comes. When I worked at UTSA, I mean, North Texas was when you tried, if it's like name all the FBS schools in the state of Texas. It was North Texas that was probably the one that, like, you couldn't name, you couldn't think of, you couldn't remember. So as President Jim is talking and Coach Napier talking about putting JMU at the top of the G6, we have this history and this momentum and this prestige and this expectation of winning that Tulane hasn't garnered that yet. USF hasn't garnered that yet. North Texas darn well certain hasn't. I mean, I
didn't know North Texas was a school. I'm going to be honest with you. That's not facetious. I literally never heard of it.
Memphis, I'll give a little bit of a nod to, because they have had success on the field, and I know they have Mr. FedEx, but what they don't have, I have a lot of good buddies that live in Memphis, and they will tell you Memphis football is just not a thing that they don't have a big fan base. They don't have a lot of people that care. The state of Tennessee is all Vols all the time. And now Vandy's kind of coming in and chipping into that Memphis fan base. So Memphis doesn't have the game day atmosphere or the fandom or the passion or the affinity. So when Coach Napier and President Jim talk about being at the top of G6, not far in the future, but today, now, we have a lot of things with JMU that these other G6 programs do not have. They wish they had, and the momentum that we have is incredible.
Michael, did you want to touch on anything? There's been a lot of personnel moves with the new coaching staff coming together. Anything you've seen that's come across? Obviously, there's clearly going to be an investment in the personnel side of this program compared to past staffs. Anything you want to touch on there?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. If anyone saw some of the contract details from Coach Napier, right, seeing, for example, a lot of his incentives going back into JMU, right, was really cool to see. And we're seeing where that's going, right? Like, I think we've got 3 hires right now on the scouting and personnel department where, number one, shout out to Nathan Applebaum, who was the scouting department at James Madison and just like doing a hell of a job. And now we've got 3 people resourced there where there was only 1. And I'm sure there's going to be more folks. There's going to be a lot of eyes, right? And trying to maintain and trying to continue that formula of seeing sort of that production over potential formula work at James Madison. I think Billy Napier, definitely values that and sees that. And when you look at the success of transfers over time, I think the data shows when you're moving up from the FCS or you're moving from G6 to P4 or whatnot, the production follows. And that's really been the success here. It's not just getting, P4 drop down. So that's really cool to see. And I love to see us devote and invest a lot of dollars into that. And also we've got quick insight, right? Like I think we're going to be bringing in Cam Aiken, who's the offensive coordinator at ETSU. Really good ETSU offense, right, by the way. I think they had, they were at the top part of the FCS. They had really good players there. They brought in the old UNC quarterback as well as the old Michigan quarterback, Cade McNamara, or was it Iowa? I forgot whoever it was. Really impressive to bring 2 quarterbacks in at that level. But, he had a very good offense, but also has a lot of experience in the P4, right? Was at Ole Miss, was at Clemson. I believe Cam Aiken's helping Ole Miss right now since they don't have a coaching staff with, what's his name? Kiffin's move over to LSU. So he's actually there. So he's potentially coaching 2 playoff teams very quickly. And then Robert Bala, right? Defensive coordinator coming in from Florida as well. He's got the roots, right? Alabama he was a linebackers coach. He was at Washington. He's been around very good, aggressive, tough defenses. And I think he was actually on campus earlier this week as well. So he's ability to come in and look at the personnel and be able to shift and mold. And when you look at it, right, Coach Napier, I think, Matt Rowan said it best. He's a player's coach. He's going to let the players play and he's going to mold his team. And I think what we were most excited about, if you listen to the Dave Riggard interview, he's got an offensive coordinator. He's going to call plays. And if you look at the JMU football accounts, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, you name it, there's a lot of Gator fans that have been commenting and tweeting and whatnot about what Napier didn't or shouldn't have done. And they're pretty surprised that he's going to hand over the play calling duties.
They almost envious. Like, wait, what?
Yeah. They're like, wait a second. He's had 3 years to do it. Why the hell do you not do it with us? And I'm like, well, he's doing it now, right? So we're really excited about that. And I think the best yet to come. And again, it's crazy, right? We've got this like dichotomy of we got these playoffs coming in, but we're rounding out the staff. We saw Chesney's presser at UCLA, so he's trying to figure it out who's coming, who's going. But I will leave it with this. He talked a lot about in the presser on transparency. And I think that's going to be really key here because, as I mentioned in a few weeks ago, there is only 1 transfer portal. We don't have a spring to get it right. And there's a lot of emphasis right now. I'm not surprised to see that he has not announced a wide receiver coach, O-line coach. He has brought in 3 personnel folks because we need to get that right because come January, it's going to be chaos and we need to be ready for it.
Taylor.
Yeah. You were talking about, selling this program to a recruit. Again, we all know this, but just to say it out loud, we're 40-10 in FBS in our first 50 games. We're the first team from Virginia to reach the CFP. We're 6 for 6 in sellouts. We have expansion plans on the way for our stadium. 3 of the last 4 years, we've been top 25. We have someone like Coach Napier, who's had success at the highest levels. His familiarity with our recruits' familiarity with him and what he's done is nationwide. We have a leadership in President Jim and Matt Rohn that are talking about all these new and unique and innovative ways to rev share. If you're a recruit, again, North Texas, South Florida, Memphis, you name it, I don't care. Name me another school that can check all those boxes or even check more than one. And that's why JMU has such an opportunity here to continue its ascent in college football. And I did want to go through one statistic. The last 20 years, we've played 263 football games. Does anyone want to guess or just throw out a number? How many do you think we've lost by more than 20 points of that 263? If you had to guess.
Oof,
9.
That's
9.
I say 10. Yeah,
9.
yeah.
3.5% of our games over 20 years have we lost by 20 points. Now, this Oregon team is a good team, and they can beat a lot of people by 20 points. So this is not me spiking the football and not giving Oregon respect. I'm giving them a ton of respect. But I'm telling you, this is a proud football program with a winning tradition. They don't get beat, and when they do get beat, it's not by much. So as much as I respect Oregon, I love having Ryan come on. Call it homerism. The Oregon Ducks better take this team seriously on Saturday because we're coming to play and we're coming to win.
I kind of hope they don't. So but if you watch this, don't take it seriously.
Just watch the Louisville game.
We're just a tiny little school. We're still called the State Normal School for Women. Don't even look us up. Guys, great show. One little quick shout out for me. I want to shout out to Jake Coons. Made an awesome t-shirt. I want to hype it up because it's on our social channels. Because again, he's giving all of the profits from that shirt to the student athlete enhancement fund. I think I said the right terms for that, but it's to go help our NIL efforts, just like our shirt that we put out 2 weeks ago with Matt Rome with the snowballs. Just trying to be creative, have some fun, and come up with some great merchandise that once again puts and follows that vision for being creative to drive more revenue, to help our general manager, our coaches do everything they can to have the resources to retain and recruit the best possible roster. So check it out. We'll put the links out on all of our social media. That's a partnership again with Purple Nation as well. So yeah, great stuff all around with the merchandise game. There's been a ton of it. But yeah, my last message, safe travels to everyone who's making it out to Eugene. We're going to do a really concerted effort this week to be aware that there are many people who can't make the trip. So when we get out there, you're going to see our account doing content from the airport, from the ground. We're going to try to give you the feel for what it's like in Portland and Eugene. So come along with us on the journey. We're also going to be very diligent about putting up information about viewing parties. We know there's a ton of them. So the Alumni Association chapters around the area, I've seen them in New York. I've seen them in parts of North Carolina doing them. So if there are going to be JMU viewing parties, let us know at Sound Off. We'll get the word out. I know JMU is going to be doing the same, but just soak it all in, guys. This is going to be a special week. No matter what happens out in Eugene, enjoy what this is bringing to the university because it's special times. It's rare air, as we've said. So safe travels to everyone. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Skyline Financial Partners, Champions Dry Bourbon, Where's Woody, Purple Nation, Shoker and Associates, Dead Meat Society, Outdoor Kitchen Creations, and Valley Road Vineyards. And with that, that's it for another episode of JMU Sound Off. As always, go Dukes. We'll see you from Portland, Oregon later this week, and we'll talk soon. Go Dukes.